everybody, Beth Helvey, Michael Saunders and Company. How you doing today? We're going to deviate a little bit from all of the COVID updates and talk about generalized stuff right now. We're going to touch a little bit on COVID, but generalized stuff right now. And it comes from this. I did a virtual tour yesterday. Really super nice guy, looking second home, retirement home. Hi, Dion. And what we're doing is, typical 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a pool, gated community, that sort of thing, which is what a lot of people who move here and buy second homes are looking for. They want what we like to call here the lock it and leave it aspect, which means that, they can come and go as they please and they're not terribly concerned about the property because it's secure. Good morning. And it brought up some very good questions of things that I run into a lot. So hi, Michael, the property was updated. Hey, Carmen, and it was updated nicely. The style was a little bit kind of modern farmhouse, kind of a slate wood look floor. It was laminate. It wasn't tile. The counters were light. The cabinets were light, soft gray, not quite the agreeable gray that everybody likes, but a very similar color. And it had been updated. The person had updated it for themselves and then decided that they weren't going to keep the property for whatever reason. So the buyer, doing a virtual tour, buyer's talking to me, and he's like, well, I'm just gonna have to offer less because I don't like the counters. Hello, Carmen. I don't like the floors. I'm gonna have to repaint. Da 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 da. Here's the thing, people, and I know we're a society that watches HGTV because I'm guilty of it too. I mean, I like it, but a property is not worth less because you don't like the counters. Because you don't like the floor cover type of floor, the floor color, because you don't like the color of the paint, does not mean the property is valued at less. Hi, Christopher. It means that you don't like it. And, to put it in a nutshell, that's kind of on you. So you could do one of a couple of things. That doesn't mean that because you don't like that they went with grays and whites versus browns, or they went with browns versus grays and whites, or you don't like the cabinets they picked out, or you don't like how they laid the granite. Maybe the seam is not where you would have put the seam, something like that. Doesn't mean that you're going to come in for $50,000 less than what is probably a reasonable asking price, or maybe a wee bit over, because you're going to have to redo it. That doesn't make the property less valuable. And it's kind of interesting how some of these buyers will then be shocked. Well, surely they can't sell the property when it looks like this. Well, yeah, they can, because somebody's going to like the colors. Now I'm not talking about crazy stuff. There's a post running around Facebook right now of purple kitchens. While it is really beautiful for Architectural Digest or House and Home House Beautiful, whatever that other magazine is, Highmark, that's not something that's really going to sell very well. So in that particular case, you would possibly offer less to rip all that out. If somebody updated the property, but put in like bright green cabinetry, or did something that was really, really unusual and very, very, very taste specific, you might be able to offer less for that. Also, if you are looking at property where a good portion of that neighborhood or area has been updated, this property hasn't been updated, hopefully that price reflects that. It still doesn't mean that because the house next door priced at $50,000 less or sold for $50,000 less or $50,000 more that had been updated, doesn't mean that you get to mark more money off the non-updated property because you're going to have to update it to match the others. The others should have sold reflective of that price. Hey, Bob. Hey, Katie. Now, every so often we'll get into these giant neighborhoods where the prices are all over the place. And then that's when we kind of get into nitty-gritty details and start breaking it down even further. But if the house is already priced appropriately because they don't have updates, it doesn't mean because other properties which sold for more that do have updates, you can't take that about and decrease it. Okay, the price should be reflected. Now, granted, a lot of people are pricing things a wee bit high. We tend to price for negotiation Those are the properties that tend to sit on the market a little bit longer. But if they're, 5% more, maybe even 10% more, that doesn't mean you're going to go in and offer 25% less because the property is not updated. So you're the buyer and you walk into this house and you don't like anything. Well, what do? You look someplace else. Maybe you look in another neighborhood. Maybe we refine your search that you are getting the finishes you want. Maybe we look in a completely other neighborhood. It doesn't mean the house is worth less. Or you like the bones, you like the layout, you love the view, you like the layout, you suck it up and you pay for it and you go and you put your own touches on it. Does that mean you're paying market price? Probably. It probably does mean you're paying market price, but then you've got to decide what's more important to you. This is when we start getting to the nitty gritty of what's important. Is it more important that you get the finishes you want? Or is it more important that you get the layouts and the bones you want? Maybe the finishes aren't what you want, but it's got a new roof, a new air conditioner, and new windows. That's worth something. So you've got brown counters instead of white. If that is absolutely a deal breaker for you, then you move on and you find something else. And the reason I'm mentioning this is my market here in Sarasota, Manatee County is a little different. We are a large second home market, okay? Which means that a lot of people are buying because they want to, not because they have to. And that means people are looking at things differently. That also means that not only the buyers are looking at things differently by saying, like this buyer said, I'm not going to pay that for it because I don't like the finishes. The seller's going to say, I don't care. I don't have to sell. This is my second home. I paid cash for it. I got it for a good price. I did the updates I wanted. The updates are good. I have all the receipts and the permits to prove it. You don't want to buy it? That's okay. I'll wait for somebody else. And they're perfectly willing to pay the carrying costs. A lot of these sellers are. They're okay with that. They understand what their house is worth if their realtor did a really good job explaining to them what the house is worth and the comps surrounding the area. They're okay with waiting, okay? Because they're looking to get a certain amount out of the house. So the market here is a little different. And we saw this in like 2013, 14, and 15 when prices were going up, up, and up. We would see people that would price their property for 25% over what the comps were because they said, well, it's a seller's market. They're going to pay what they're going to pay. Hi, Charles. That's not always the case. People who are buying because they want to, not because they have to, have a different view on what they're going to buy. Don't get me wrong. There's always the outlier that walks in the door, falls in love, and writes a check. It happens. And they don't care what the cost is. They don't need comps. They don't need an appraisal. They don't care. The house is talking to them. They're in love. They're buying out of love. And that's fine. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Ellis. And that's fine. But that's not the typical case. The typical case is that people here are buying and selling, not necessarily out of need, but out of desire. So when you walk in the door and say, I hate all the finishes, I'm going to offer $50,000 less, don't be disappointed when the seller says, sorry, we're moving on. Because that's just how it is here. So educate yourself. And part of this process too is figuring out what you have to have. And sometimes you don't know that until you look at a property. Hi, Maria. So if you walk into the property and especially if you're not from here and you finally understand what our layout and our flow is like, because we do have the Florida house. We do have a different layout than our northern houses. Then you can start breaking down what is important to you as far as view and finishes and layout. And, you're learning about hurricane windows and straps on roofs and things like that. You're learning about all that sort of thing. And then you can decide what's important and make an educated decision. What the neighborhoods are, how close are you to the beach, how close are you to the highway, things like that. But if you do come in and do that, and like I said, there's always outliers, but the majority of your sellers are just not going to play ball. They're not going to do it because they don't have to sell. So that's in a nutshell. And we can touch on the virus stuff. Even though we're in the middle of a COVID-19 virus, obviously, I think we've got another 2-ish weeks in our stay-at-home order. Our stay-at-home order ends on May 2nd, unless it's extended. Basically, that still doesn't mean that there are fire sales here. A lot of our sellers that have these homes are selling because they want to, not because they need to. I do have a few sellers. I have a couple sellers, as a matter of fact, that are trying to move from one place to the next. And they know that, and they're priced accordingly. But a lot of the sellers are willing to wait this out. And they're willing to just wait for the right person to come along and wait for the virus to settle down and for all of us to be allowed to go back out in public again. And they're okay with that. That doesn't mean that people are going to walk in, buyers are going to walk in and say, you've been on the market for X amount of days, you're never going to sell during the virus, I'm going to offer you X amount of dollars less. Someone's probably not going to take it. Some might because they have to, but the ones that are selling because they want to aren't going to. So that's just my 2 cents. And that's how the virus is affecting our sales. Hey, Shannon, is that, sales have slowed down, but again, we're a large secondary home market. So if you're looking as a secondary person or if you're selling as a secondary person, that's going to be slow right now. And that's just the way it is. So that's my 2 cents. Those are things that I've been running into lately. You're not going to find a lot of fire sales here. There are a handful, and they're getting snatched up. But for the most part, people are willing to wait this out and see what happens. If you got any questions about this, throw out in the comments. I'm happy to answer them, or DM me. If you'd like to hear anything else about real estate or just anything in general about Sarasota, throw it in the comments or DM me, and I'm happy to cover that. Yesterday was hot, so I think today we're going to be in the upper 80s again. We're hitting feel like temperatures of 100. So if you are able to get out and maintain your social distancing, please do so. Go get you some vitamin D, but drink your water, wear your sunscreen, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.